That's it. Now, I'll unmute you all to say hello to each other. We'll say l'chaim, we'll say good evening to each other, good morning. Yes, hello?
Hello.
Hi.
Hello. Good evening.
L'chaim.
Good evening. Yeah. I'm muting you all, and let's see if Oleg is here. Oleg, where are you? Let me find you. I have 3 pages
I'm
of
right
people
here,
already.
yes.
Wonderful. Yes,
Hello.
you unmuted yourself?
Yeah, I can do that.
Please, yeah, wonderful.
This
So,
power.
hello, Oleg. Welcome on
Hello.
the show. Just before we start, let me take a deep breath in front of you all. My website was being transferred from one server to another today, and just now I wasn't able to get on my website. I still can't get on my website. So I've been receiving texts and messages and emails. Polina, how do we get to your meeting? So just a minute before now, I wasn't preparing for the concert and choosing what to sing. I was sending people links how to get here. So I'm so glad that you are here with us. And I hope that nobody else is lost in the internet space. So again, good evening. Today we'll have hopefully a lovely time. Now, listening to Oleg Timofeyev is a great treat for me personally. In fact, I wanted to hear him, not just present him to you all. And as you know, some of you know, we were supposed to have a couple of concerts here in Britain when he was coming to, I think it was a Gypsy Guitar Music Festival. What was it, Oleg?
No, it was a meeting on guitar research. Guitar research consortium at Cambridge.
Okay, so it didn't happen. So today we get at least something. So Oleg, our people are all yours. Please say hello and just launch into the music.
Well, hello everybody. It's a great honor. I'm going to talk about the very beginning of the Russian guitar. Most people don't even know what it is. Are you familiar? How many people have heard Russian 7-string guitar before?
Wave your hands.
You can just say. The thing is that the Russian guitar, traditionally has 7 strings. But what I have, some of you who are strong in math could figure out that it has more than 7. It has 2 necks. So this neck is kind of optional. It started late in the 19th century, and this type of guitar came from Vienna, and it was called sharamel guitar with 2 necks with additional basses, but that's not really the heart of the Russian guitar. The heart of Russian guitar is the first 7 strings on the first neck. So I have many guitars, and in fact, I could have shown some of my collection, but maybe next time. Basically, it has only 1 neck, and on that neck, it has 7 strings, and they tune to a major chord. So most of us, of course, think that Russian songs are sad. And why do we need a major chord? Why not have a minor chord? But that's another story. Do you want me, Polina, do you want me to keep going or playing? No. So, I wrote my dissertation about that, and I keep investigating the question, where did the Russian guitar come from? Because Russia in the 18th century was kind of cosmopolitan place. There were many different types of musicians. Italian opera started showing up in 1731 under the rule of Anna Ioannovna, our empress of the time. And perhaps the opera had some guitar, but that must have been Baroque guitar with the double strings and so on. So basically the working hypothesis is that we had a type of musician from France or from Italy, and they played normal, what we call today Spanish guitar. And then there was another type of musician called Czecho-Polish, and they actually played the cithern, that is usually called the English guitar or guitar with 2 T's. That's an 18th century instrument, and I'm very proud of winning an eBay battle the other day, and I actually bought one from 1761. An English guitar that obviously is not here yet, but I'm going to next time. I'm doing some show like that. I say that's what the Poles and Czechs played in Russia. But basically, some musician, we don't know exactly who, made this hybrid instrument with the tuning of the Polish guitar, which was called English guitar to make more confusing, and the shape and the gut strings of the Spanish guitar. And that became 7-string guitar that nobody called the Russian at the time. So the first musicians were Czech or Poles. And I'm going to start with the piece that due to my generally melancholic character, I like to start any concert with. It's called Polonaise Mélancolique by a Czech composer, Ignaz von Held. about whom I can tell a whole separate saga. But the main thing for this purpose is that he published the first treatise how to play the Russian guitar, which wasn't called Russian, how to play 7-string guitar. And that treatise was published in 1798. And that's, so this is one of the oldest pieces.
Wow.
Wow. Nice.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. That was beautiful, wasn't it? Oleg, can you unmute yourself again? I'm losing you. And we have 69. Yes, great. Thank you. I have this like lots of faces here. I wonder if we should ask you to play another tune straight away, because people have heard me singing so many times. Like, can you do another one? And then I'll sing a Yiddish song after that.
Oh, I was afraid that this one was too long.
Oh, come on.
Okay, so this was from Von Held method, so circa 1800. The next piece comes from it's three pieces. It is a compilation that I take from a journal for guitar that some guy with the last name Sventitsky was publishing. Sventitsky is not really a Russian name, so it could be Polish, could be Ukrainian, but we don't really know anything about him, so we can only speculate. One thing is that we find a lot of pieces called Kozak in this journal, and sometimes the pieces are called Air Russe, a Russian air, which in this particular case, so basically what I will play is an allegro, which basically more or less cosmopolitan, doesn't show any national kind of, ethnic music character. Another piece is Kozak, which is very stereotypical kind of Ukrainian Kozak, but they were also very popular in Poland. And Air Russe, in this particular case, it's a song that, how many people actually read War and Peace? Everybody.
Tell us in the chat. I did when I was in school. Tell us in the chat. Yes, no? War and Peace? Yeah, somebody, yes. Susan says,
So how many people remember that Natasha Rostova, this sort of the heroine, so charming and so on, visits her uncle, and the uncle plays guitar.
Wow.
And that was the 7-string guitar, obviously. Tolstoy, who wrote this piece much later, he definitely was aware of the Russian guitar tradition, the way most people now are not. And the mise-en-scène there is such that Mitька, the coachman of the uncle, plays balalaika, which is a more peasant instrument, and he plays the tune called Barыня. And so Natasha asks the uncle, do you play? And he says, well, he doesn't say anything, but his companion brings a guitar and he starts playing a different tune. So when I play this Barыня, I like to say this is the tune that the uncle should have played. So once more, from Sventitsky 1803 journal, Allegro, Kozak, and Air Russe, which is, as we know, Barыня.
Fabulous.
Beautiful.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
So I'll dilute Oleg's beautiful playing. He will come back in a few moments. I'll dilute it with some Yiddish material because some of us come from Yiddish and klezmer network here. And this will be a song in which you can hopefully join me because, you know, lots of you are singers here. So this is, some of you know this song. It's about actually, it's about a letter that I write to somebody far away, and I send that letter, and I go to the post office every day to check if it's there. White paper, dark writing, and my tears fall when I receive that letter, and I open it with my trembling hands. I don't know what's in the letter. It can be very good and very positive. And there is a yeah, bye-bye. Schreib ich dir ein Briefele in dem weiten Land. Schreib ich dir ein Briefele, zittert mir mein Hand. Schwarzen Gewürterlech, weißen Papier und die Tränen finstere Gissen ohne Scher. Ay, da 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 da, ay, da 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 da. Sing with me. Ay, da 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 da. Ay, da 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 da. Ay, da 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 da. Ay, da 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 ay, da 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 da. Kleb ich zu das Briefele, schick ich es weg. Schwimm sich Briefele in dem weiten Weg. Wart ich auf den Briefele, ist mir sehr schlecht. Ess ich nicht und schlaf ich nicht kein Nacht. Ay, da 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 da, ay, da 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 da, ay, da 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 da. Sing with me. Nehmen sich nur nicht die Hand. Etwas was zu tun. Rak ich war beim Büro auf dem Postaljon. Bringt mir ein Briefele von dem weiten Land. Öffne ich das Briefele, zittert mir mein Hand. Ay, da 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 da, ay, da 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 da, ay, da 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 da, ay, da 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 da, ay, da 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 da, ay, da da da, ay, da 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 da. Schwarzenige Wörterlach, weißen Papier und die Tränen finstere schick ich ohne Tier. Ay, da 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 da, da 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 da, ay, da 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 da. Sing with me. Ay, da 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 da, ay, da 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 da, ay, da 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 da. Ay, da 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 da, ay, da 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 da, ay, da 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 da. Ay, da 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 da, ay, da 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 da, ay, da 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 da.
Yeah. Remember that one.
Very much. So the text was by Mani Leib, a wonderful Yiddish poet, and tune was mine. Never recorded, but performed lots of times in the past couple of years. Now, Oleg, where are you? We have 72 people here today. Oleg, please.
Right here.
Yeah, there you go. Over to you.
So I don't know how it happened. You know, when I started my research, you know, I think I'm the first one who started calling it Russian 7-string guitar in English. But the more I was studying that subject, the more I was understanding that it was a very cosmopolitan process, and there were not that many actually Russian music representatives at the beginning of this tradition. And so there are many interesting stories. You know, the mentioned Ignaz von Held was a Czech who basically ended up in Russia as a prisoner of war with Ekaterina. And then when Ekaterina died in 1795, Catherine the Great, that is, her son, Paul I, who hated his mother, just released many political prisoners. And that's how Ignaz von Held found himself in Moscow without any means for existence. So that's how he quickly remembered that he played guitar. And that's why the method was actually published. So I'm going to play a Spanish waltz called Cachucha, but it has an interesting sort of ethnic puzzle in a sense, because the person who actually wrote it, Pietro Pettoletti, he came to Russia from Scandinavia. He was originally, I think he was born in Norway, educated in Germany or something, but definitely born to Italian parents. And so he came to Russia and stayed there for a while and continued writing for the normal Spanish guitar. You understand that it's mainly not about the number of strings, but it's rather about the tuning, because Spanish guitar is tuned mainly in fourths. And so when you come to a Spanish guitar and make this gesture, you don't make this sonorous chord, or there will be a couple of notes that don't really fit. But Russian guitar is precisely about this G major chord.
Oh, Oleg, sorry, can I interrupt you? I just saw in the chat that people are asking about the lower strings and why you use them.
Oh, yeah.
Do you use them at all?
Okay, I will get there. We'll finish this thought first about the. It has slightly different aesthetics, and we don't really have time to compare and to go but I've done those things in various formats. But Pietro Pettoletti kept writing for the normal Spanish guitar, but he also wrote for Russian guitar, and a little different from other Russians. And so this is a piece by basically Swedish composer or Norwegian composer of Italian origin on a Spanish theme, written in St. Petersburg. That's basically what the puzzle of this sort of richness of its ethnic origin. Now about the second neck. I have guitars that are literally from 1810s, 1820s, much different. They look like Baroque guitars, very narrow. You know, you may have seen those on the paintings of Watteau. But this fashion for the second neck, it came from Austria because they had a different kind of music called Schrammelmusik, named after its inventor, whose name was Schrammel. And it consisted usually of if I'm not mistaken, a small clarinet, 2 violins, and a guitar like that. And those usually were tuned diatonically down, and they were supposed to be just basically the whole guitar was made for accompaniment. The irony is that precisely during that time, starting 1860s, in Vienna, there was a really high level of instrument making. So this guitar is made by Viennese builder Johann Scherzer, but and I bought it in Vienna, and it's very important because if you buy a guitar like that in Russia, first, most likely you won't be allowed to take it out of the country, and second, even it's inside it says Scherzer, it doesn't really mean that it's by Scherzer, because Scherzer was extremely popular in Russia, so there are a lot of fake Scherzers. And this one is genuine because it comes from Austria, where there's really no point in faking it. And there are specialists who can tell you, etc., etc. But basically, Russians didn't really have this Shramel music. They didn't have cafes with this type of music where they needed this accompaniment, but they wanted a guitar like that. So they tuned those basses a little differently, so that it kind of helps you to have a bass. Like, for example, you have E minor chord, and you have a bass E here, but you also have this bass here. So you can play this chord higher, but you can still play this bass. And that's something you wouldn't be able to play because you cannot stretch that much. So like you can play this chord, but you can also play. So the Russian basses are not diatonic, not bum 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 bum. They're going kind of in a strange order.
Oleg, we have 12 minutes before we have to finish. So like...
Oh, yeah.
Whoa. Oh,
That was lovely.
beautiful.
That's
Come on.
great.
I'll just sing a quick song for everyone to join in, and then Oleg, you'll play us to the end of today and to the end of our run of 10 sessions. So this is about. The song is called Einsam. Text is by Yitzhak Manger, the tune is mine, and it's the one where you can sing Yababais with me as usual. It's about loneliness and drinking. Sounds familiar, right? So it's about going into a bar and drinking with, joining or not joining this bunch of drunken people or not. So the main character eventually leaves and thinks, well, where do I go on my own? That's a good question. Keiner weiß nicht, was sag. Keiner weiß nicht, was will. 7 meislich mit am Eis schlafen auf ein Deal. 7 meislich mit am Eis schlafen. Da ich an dem Kapeljuschen sogar gute Nacht. Da ich an dem Kapeljuschen und ich lass sich gehen. Da wo sie geht, mein spät bei Nacht. Steht der Schenken mit der Marke, winkt zu mir, du Jod, Papa Fessele mit Wein, Fessele mit Gold, ai, dai, 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 ai, dai, 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 ai, dai, 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 ai, dai, 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 ai, dai, 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 dai, dai. Even schneller auf die Tür und ich fahre rein. Gut Jung, auf alle Eiche, wo sie soll nicht sein. Ai, dai, 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 ai, dai, 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 ai, dai, 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 ai, dai, 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 come on. Ai, dai, 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 ai, dai, 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 ai, dai, dai, was ich sag. Keiner weiß nicht, was ich will. Zwei Schikoren mit der Flasch, schlafen auf ein Deal. Zwei Schikoren mit der Flasch, sind durch sich drei. Seine Pferde durch Spiel, leid sich nicht gedei. Du ich wohl, dem Kapeljosch, und ich los sich gehen. Wo sie geht, man spät bei Nacht, in den Kern allein. I'm lonely and drunk, I don't care, I can still sing. Much. It's not necessarily a happy song. I would say it's just a powerful song, and whatever happens, I'll go and do what I want to do. Oleg, we have 6 minutes. What do you want to play us?
Well, I'll quickly play a piece that I wasn't going to play, but it kind of has a nice story. And 6 minutes, okay, very quickly. The most popular Tchaikovsky overture 1812 was really performed in Russia because it used the tune for Боже царя храни, or God Save the Tsar. Because before, in 1834, there was a competition, we adopted this tune. Russia actually borrowed the same tune as God Save the Queen, the same British anthem. And so we, the Soviet generation, Polina and I, never actually had the chance to listen in the movies, whenever they sing, Боже царя храни, цар. At this moment, the Red Army would arrive and kill everybody. We never actually knew how it ends. So this is a very anachronistic piece because actually, the Tchaikovsky used it to illustrate Russians, but in 1812, basically they should have been, historically illustrated with the British anthem because this one wasn't written yet. So, Боже царя храни, as presented in, printed by another Czech composer, Russified Czech, the patriarch of all the Russian guitarists, Andrei Sichra.
bien, tu y vas?
Superb.
Il est payé, il y a marqué que tu peux y aller gratuit aussi. Pardon.
Beautiful. It seems like not enough time, really, not enough time. I could listen to you, Oleg, for hours. Seriously. We have less than a minute, so I have to say goodbye. And thank you very much for being with us. Keep coming. And Oleg, thank you very much. It was just such a pleasure. Please, in the last seconds, write something nice in the chat to, to forward to Oleg. And thank you very much, everyone. And let me just give you an opportunity to write something quickly. And Oleg, let's have a drink tonight for this first time together online, transcontinental.
Ашейным данк.
Будь здоров, Ашейн Данк. Bye, everyone. Thank you.